Hi, this is John Harcher. Welcome to episode 24 of Left Turn at Albuquerque. Today we'll go over the last of the Looney Tunes Superstars DVDs. Not the last out, but the last one I bought because, well, you'll see.
I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. I should have turned left at Albuquerque.
Things have been a little hectic this month, so I'm not even doing the green screen. I'm keeping my glasses on so I can get this done. If you like what you're seeing, please remember to hit the subscribe button down below. Now, let me start once again with something I wrote to my friends back in 2013 or so. As you'll see, some things got better since then, and others... Wait, there's more? Well, since Warner's has pretty much shut down their animation restoration unit, there are just not going to be any more Looney Tunes releases for the time being. The long-rumored Warner Archives titles never appeared, and who knows if they ever will. Note, they did. So I went on to Amazon, and for $5 I picked up Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote's Supergenius Hijinks. If you're looking for some great Chuck Jones, Michael Maltese classics, they're not here. Not a one. Every single short on here was made in 1965 or later, with Chuck involved in one of the later ones. Then here's a really odd thing. The shorts are presented in reverse chronological order, except when they're not. They flipped one of the 90s one's from the 2000s. Why? I have no idea. Looking at this again, I still have no idea why. But let's go over this as it was and see what we can put together. We start with a trio of CGI shorts from 2010, directed by Matthew O'Callaghan and written by Tom Shepard. They're 3 minutes long, just enough to develop an idea and bring it to fruition. First is Coyote Falls from July 30th. The coyote uses bungee jumping to catch the Roadrunner and keeps getting hit by trucks. This was shown in theaters before Cats and Dogs 2 and was in 3D. Fur of Flying is from September 24th. The coyote comes up with a flying helmet to hover over the Roadrunner. Now, this was shown in front of Legend of the Guardians, Owls of Gohul. Yeah. Finally, there's Rabid Rider from December 17th. The coyote tries using a Segway to catch the Roadrunner. I think Paul Blart did this better. Anyway, this was in front of the Yogi Bear film with Dan Aykroyd doing the voice. Now, there was one more of these, Flash in the Pane, that was supposed to be in front of a film but ended up being shown at some film festival. The reason it's not here, it didn't come out until 2014. It was made by the same people, except Tom Cito wrote it. So it may have been done at the same time as the others, but maybe not. And it's not even available anywhere for purchase, but you can watch it to your heart's content on YouTube. So let's do a quick bonus review. The coyote uses a transporter device to get himself next to the Roadrunner, which of course doesn't work out as planned. Plus, we have a couple of guest stars that show up at the end. Getting back to the shorts on the disc, next we have Whizzard of Ow, directed by Brett Holland and written by Chris Kelly. A couple of Tolkien-type wizards are doing battle and end up destroying each other. Wile finds the Book of Magic and gets to work finding which tricks will get him the Roadrunner. This short, released on November 1st, 2003, ran in front of the Looney Tunes Back in Action film. It's basically a better version of the 60s one-noters. We'll get to those in a minute. Chariots of Fur was released on December 21st, 1994. Chuck Jones is back, both directing and co-writing this one with Stan Freberg. A couple of old favorite gags return, the spring and the bow, but are given new twists. Plus, Wile gets to dress up as a cactus and use one of Mel's old screams. This ran before the Macaulay Culkin version of Richie Rich, pretty much in line with Chuck's two TV special Roadrunner Coyote shorts from 79 and 80. Next is Little Go Beep, and whoops, we're out of order here. This short, released on April 7th, 2000, was directed by Spike Brandt, one of the main guys in the 21st century iteration of Warner's animation, usually paired with Tony Cervone, but he's only on animation in this one. This was also written by Earl Kress and Kathleen Helpy Shipley. Cagey Coyote passes the torch to his little son Wile if he can catch the baby Roadrunner. Stan Freberg did KG here. There's a bit of back and forth over who ended up doing the voice, but Stan ended up doing it in the end. There's a pretty decent homage to the Chuck Jones era. Now we come to the 1965-66 Rudy Larriva era of the DePatie Freeling shorts, still done in reverse order. Actually, the last one is done by Robert McKimson, but they all kind of fit into the same general mode. And unlike the Chuck Jones ones, they generally tend to concentrate on a single plan of the Coyotes. So we'll just do general overviews instead of plot by plot as usual. First, let's go over how we got here, then do what's here. So, as we've talked about, Chuck is fired in 1963, and the last of his Roadrunner cartoons come out in 1964. Then they decided to pull apart the 26-minute adventures of the Roadrunner pilot for TV and create a couple of other cartoons out of it. Chuck actually did this himself as well. We'll go over all that when we do the Golden Collections. We'll also do the Wild Chase, which was the first non-Chuck related Roadrunner cartoon, and I'll add in Rushing Roulette as a bonus since it has more in common with those cartoons than what was to follow. So DePatie Freeling, who were basically handling the Looney Tunes shorts in the mid-60s, subcontracted out to Format Films to pitch in. They were best known for doing the Alvin and Chipmunk show in the early 60s, as well as some of the TV Popeyes. We'll touch on that whole subject when we do Gene Deitch and Tom and Jerry. They also did that really cool Lone Ranger cartoon that I mentioned last year in my History of Looney Tunes video, so have a look at that. The unit was led by Rudy Larriva, who had actually worked with Chuck Jones back in the 30s and 40s. You can see his name on Elmer's Pet Rabbit, among others. He ended up getting drafted and fought in World War II. Once the war was over, he tried coming back to Warner's, but there was no room left in Chuck's group. So he bounced around a bit before finally ending up at Format. With DePatie Freeling being very busy, not only with Warner's cartoons, but doing a number of their own featuring a certain odd-colored feline, they contracted out to Format to do a number of cartoons. Most of them ended up being Roadrunner Coyotes. Rudy's team did 11 of them. 8 of them are included here. Why not all 11? One of them, I think I know why, but there was an instance of them skipping over one that should be on this disc, but not. Again, I have no idea why. The run actually starts with one that DePatie Freeling actually did themselves. Sugar and Spies was released on November 6, 1966, directed by Robert McKimson, and written by Tom DeGanis and Lars Bourne. A spy loses his kit of tricks during a getaway, which Wile uses to go after the Roadrunner. This one looks, sounds, and feels like a Pink Panther cartoon.
Meep, meep.
Maybe they got their scripts mixed up. Now on to the Larrivas. Clippety Clobbered came out on March 12, 1966, written by DeGenius. Coyote gets a chemistry set delivered to him and comes up with an invisible paint, a super rubber concoction, and rocket fuel as methods to catch the Roadrunner. The Solid Tin Coyote was released on February 19, 1966, 5 years before my sister, written by Don Jurwich. After using tar and a fake background to get the Roadrunner, Wile builds the title contraption. And it actually scares the Speedy Bird at first. Some interesting ideas in here stuck with so-so animation. Out Rout came out on January 29, 1966, written by Dale Hale. The Coyote uses a skateboard and a hawk to catch the Roadrunner before deciding on using some pigeons tied to his feet. This section is probably the most evocative of all the DePatie Freelings of the Jones-era shorts. The rest of the cartoon concentrates on Wile building a race car and a sailboat to catch his prey. Shot and Bothered was released on January 8, 1966, written by Nick Benyon. This one has Wile using a variety of methods to trap the Speedy Bird. The suction cup one is kind of inventive. The dynamite and skateboard are kind of played out, though inflating himself with helium to drop a bomb isn't bad. Now there's a weird fade to black in here, almost as if they dropped an idea. Chaser on the Rocks came out on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1965, written by DeGenius. Nothing Christmassy about this one. It deals with a simple fact that hadn't been dealt with much in the earlier tunes. It's really hot in the desert and sometimes you need water. He tries to trick the Roadrunner with dynamite painted like water and also puts up a bird bath. Highway Runnery was released on December 11, 1965, written by Albertino. The one interesting plan in this is where he puts up a sail on a skateboard and plugs a fan in. The end of this segment was used in the opening of the Roadrunner show. Then the Roadrunner hatches an egg with dynamite in it. Very weird. We also get to hear Wile howl like a coyote and not done by Mel. Boulder Wham came out on October 23, 1965, written by Len Jansen. This one's really a one-noter. A bridge is out with the Roadrunner on one side and a coyote on the other. The last one on the disc is Hairied and Hurried, released on November 13, 1965, again out of order, written by Benyon. Wile cranks up the Acme snowmaking machine, tries dropping bombs, skydiving, and the springing steel door again. If you want to know why the Looney Tunes reissue program at this point wasn't as successful as expected, you could take a look at releases like this as a major culprit. Why the backwards chronology? Why were Hairied and Boulder and Chariots and Little Go Beep out of order? Why leave out just plain Beep, which was released between the last two? For that matter, there are only 2 more Larrivas besides that. Why not get them all? But most importantly, why these? There were a lot of Chuck Jones directed ones left to be released. I think there were around 10 at that point. You could have done those instead of the Patty Freeling / formats, then done all of these later ones for a future release. From 2013 until Porky Pig 101 in 2017, if you wanted to find some Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies on DVD, there were a lot of the stray ones spread throughout the Warner Night at the Movies disc. But that's a hell of a way to watch some old cartoons and pretty damn expensive. So since this was kind of short, let's do some bonus reviews. We'll go ahead and do the other 3 Larrivas. And when we actually get them released, we'll try to find something new to talk about each of them. Just Plain Beep was released on October 30th, 1965, written by Jerwich. Wile orders an old World War I plane from Acme War Surplus and uses it to chase the Roadrunner down for as long as it holds together. This, along with Shot and Bothered, have been in the Boomerang rotation for years. Tired and Feathered came out September 11, 1965, written by Larriva. This is the one where they began using the Bill Lava stock music over and over and over again, and it just came to signify what these cartoons were. But a few segments from this cartoon were also used in the opening of the Roadrunner show. The first Larriva and last we'll go over is Run, Run, Sweet Roadrunner. The reason this probably didn't get on here is Wile's last part involved an Indian rain dance. However, MeTV has played this at least a couple of times. In fact, that's where this came from. It's also the only one of the Larrivas with an actual score by Bill Lava instead of the stock music. The release date for this one is kind of special for me, August 21st, 1965. That's the exact date my parents got married. So what's left for Roadrunner and Coyote? Technically, there are 9, including Flash and the Pain, but for our purposes, we have 8. We did have 10 when I started putting this together, but thanks to the inclusion of Wild About, Hurry, and Zip and Snort on Collector's Vault Volume 1, that's 2 less to deal with. The remaining tunes fall into 3 different categories. First, we have the last Chuck Jones directed shorts, Fastest with the Mostest, which may or may not have been written by Michael Maltese, and Zoom at the top. Then we have the compilation cartoons made from pulling apart the adventures of Roadrunner. Those 2 are Zip Zip Hooray and Roadrunner A Go-Go. Now, To Beep or Not To Beep is on one of the Golden collections, so as mentioned, we'll deal with it there, along with the entire short and one more that we've already discussed that's kind of related. Finally, we have the 4 post-Chuck Jones tunes we talked about, Rushing Roulette and the 3 Larrivas, Run Run Sweet Roadrunner, Tired and Feathered, and Just Plain Beep. Rushing and the last 2 were on Max, Run Run was not. Guess why? And what would an alternate universe complete collection look like? Beep Beep, the complete Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner cartoons, would span all the way from 1949 to 2014. 50 shorts with the duo, including the 26-minute adventures of Roadrunner, the 2 Chuck Jones directed shorts from the TV specials, and all of the material from this set, as well as the last one. Plus, I would add in the 5 Bugs Bunny Wile E. Coyote team-ups to put them in context. That's Operation Rabbit here second. Plus, remember, Hairied and Hurried not only has bugs filling in for the Roadrunner, but has closer ties than are immediately apparent. We'll do that when we do the full episode. Now, thanks to Collector's Vault, which hopefully will have many volumes to come, the Superstars series is starting to get whittled down along with the Goldens. But if you want to get a hold of the 8 U.S. releases, sorry, Wascally Wabbit, you don't need to buy 8 separate DVDs. They did a couple of repackagings that put the Bugs Bunny, Foghorn Leghorn, and Roadrunner and Coyote sets in one package, and Daffy Porky and the Tweety Sylvester double dip on the other. They actually released these twice, once in 2013, then slightly renamed in 2014. The only ones you'd still have to buy separately are the Pepe Le Pew and Sylvester Jr., and Hippity Hopper ones. Finally, a quick shout out to Ferry Mulder, fellow DVD enthusiast who subscribed a few videos back. He does new video announcements that usually show up pretty quickly in your feed, as well as some other things. So I've included the link below. Have a look at his page, always interesting and informative. Like I said in an earlier video, that's the great thing about this. Everyone has their own approaches. Anthony's got his, Ferry's got his, Dave Down Under has got his, I've got mine. Tim has his with the big guys. Thank heavens for fair use. Next time, it'll be Collector's Vault Volume 1. We'll probably do it in 2 videos. We'll just see how it goes. I'm John Harker. Thanks for watching.